So speaking about right-wing versus left-wing politician, there's a major shift happening in the Americas right now. Ever since U.S.A, that was the U.S. government agency that was handing out billions of dollars left and right and up and down, one of the first things Doge in the U.S. cut because they realized it was just a slush fund, a money pit of shady donations to highly politicized organizations around the world under the guise of foreign aid. Chile went far right. And I'm saying far right because that's what the media is calling it. We're just going to call it what it is. They went to the right. Anything right of center to the left-wing media is considered far. Anyways, Chile went to the right. Bolivia went to the right. Peru went to the right. Ecuador went to the right. Honduras went to the right. Colombia just this weekend went to the right. And Costa Rica went to the right. This is a map of what the Americas look like in 2023 and what they look like in 2026. It used to be pretty much left-wing governments from north all the way to the south. But today, crazy what 3 years can do. The US and all of these Latin American countries have gone to the right. And even Europe is starting to see a shift in the polls, whether it's Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Austria, Poland, the UK, and Norway. All the right-leaning parties, or in Europe, the far right-leaning parties, are starting to lead in the polls. Now, they haven't been elected yet, and it's very complicated in Europe because every freaking country over there is a coalition government. So there's not a single party that can win outright on their own, like, for example, in Canada when we have majorities. So instead, a bunch of parties have to get together and make a deal, an agreement to form government, and this is where the left bands together to prevent and to stop the right from ever forming government. But nonetheless, Europeans are waking up as well. The 2000s gave rise to a major wave of left-wing liberal governments and policies across Europe and the Americas, basically the West, promising a utopia, prosperity, and fairness for everyone. But instead, we got wokeism, economic stagnation, mass migration, housing crises, cost of living explosions, and a cultural erosion and division like we have never seen before in the West. And now, people are mad, and things are starting to change. Well, except in Canada, because the latest Nanos poll shows that the Liberal Party of Canada is at 44% approval rating, while the Conservative Party of Canada is down 9 points to 32%.
The big number is actually the leadership numbers, the preferred prime minister numbers, because, that double-digit advantage gets to 20 to 24 points for Mark Carney over Pierre Poilievre. And the killer number for Pierre Poilievre is the fact that 1/3 of committed conservative supporters, conservative voters, think that Mark Carney would be the best prime minister. That's the problem for Pierre Poilievre, and that's the advantage. That kind of sums up Mark Carney's advantage in the polls. It's all about him. It's the Carney government, not the Liberal government. It's the Mark Carney government.
So the Mark Carney government, you say? Well, the Mark Carney government is a bigger failure than Keir Starmer. Well, if it's your government, you're going to own up to it, aren't you? Keir Starmer had an unemployment rate of 4.9%. Meanwhile, under the Carney government, we're at 6.6%. Inflation in the UK is 2.8%. Canada, 3.2%. Economic growth in the UK was weak, but positive. Whereas the economic growth in Canada, well, surprise, surprise, we're in negative growth. Yes, we're in a recession. And Keir Starmer was just forced to resign. Meanwhile, Carney is not only still in office, but as you just saw, he is polling tremendously well in Canada. Which begs the question, but why?
How will history judge Sir Keir Starmer?
Well, he wants to be judged in a favourable light, and I thought the speech was conspicuous by the absence of any contrition at all. OK, there was an emotional moment, and I think as human beings we reflect on what he said about his wife Victoria and his beautiful children as he basically welled up at the podium behind us and have a degree of sympathy. However, we got this speech which almost reflects the sort of gaslighting nature of his premiership, that everything's great, that Labour's done well, that we've got growth, that we've got children out of poverty, that we're apparently being more well respected on the international stage. I'm wondering whether the GB audience agrees with that analysis. They might be rightly asking themselves, if you've done so well as Prime Minister, why are you resigning?
The media in the UK is highly critical of the government in power, regardless of which party is in power, may I add. Starmer faced brutal, non-stop scrutiny from the British press. tanking his approval ratings, which led eventually to some backbenchers revolting and policies to turn into chaos. But meanwhile, in Canada, the mainstream media has morphed into nothing more than the propaganda arm of the Liberal Party. They spend more time attacking the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre than they do holding our current government to account.
You are proposing cutting these gas taxes, which will increase demand and therefore inflation. Why should Canadians trust your economic credentials?
Sorry, I don't understand that you're framing there. You say that lowering a tax on gas will increase inflation?
Increase demand for the gas, which, again, could increase inflation.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I've never heard anyone saying lowering taxes on gas could possibly increase inflation.
They spend more time finding excuses for failures of our country, finding scapegoats for the Liberals, cough, cough, Harper, Ukraine, Iran, Trump, whatever the flavor of the month is, rather than investigating why things are failing in the first place. This is why the CBC gets $1.4 billion a year. This is why all other media companies receive $600 million a year. This is why all the newsroom staffers have their salaries subsidized to the tune of 30%. This is why Bill C-11 exists. The truth in Canada is whatever the mainstream media repeats over and over and over again, no matter what the actual facts reveal. And now you know why Mark Carney is doing considerably worse than Keir Starmer, and yet Canadians are slurping it all up. The truth is, they don't really know what's happening. It's like people in North Korea that think that North Korean economy is booming and that they're the ones who are winning at life. Meanwhile, they're in famines, they have no freedom, no liberty, they are under totalitarian rule, and yet most people are none the wiser. You want to know who knows the truth? Government officials. But the population? They're under a veil of a dream, or perhaps more of a nightmare, due to the fact that all information is controlled. Well, the same is happening in Canada. And this is the truth.